Alright, so let's go through a very quick overview of what we are going to cover here. The first one was going to be Django explained in 60 minutes. Right. Now we are going to skip most of it. Anyone who is maybe interested in working on this project, it's a prerequisite to know Django framework. You can maybe skip Java because Java is basically about the module, and most of the part, for the most part, you can make use of the REST API and go ahead with it. You won't need to change the module very frequently. But if when it comes to the web application, this I believe will undergo plenty of changes. Right? So let me go through and explain quickly what Django is, and then we are going to look into the building blocks of a Django app and explore the MDR-TV web app. We are going to set it up locally, run it, and then run two use cases, meaning test out two different changes which are like an everyday stuff for our module. Alright, so let's begin. Django in 60 minutes or for us 15 minutes. So Django is an end-to-end web framework, right? And it's built on top, and its sole purpose, you can say the primary purpose, is to receive HTTP requests and respond with an HTTP response. If you have to oversimplify what this framework does. However, the reason we adopt Django is not only this. It gives you plenty more things around a web framework. So what you have is you have a middleware, right? You have a middleware. You have URL being routed. You have a view. Actually, Django has its own version of MVC. They refer to as MVT, Model View Template, and we're going to talk about that very briefly. So you make a request from your browser or Postman, make a REST call. It comes as JSON into the Django. Django handles it, responds with an HTML page. That's basically what it does. So how does the life cycle work? There is a middleware chain, so top to bottom. So first of all, you have a middleware. So what does middleware do? It is basically handling everything before entering inside your custom code. So most importantly, authentication. We are going to look into our own middleware file, and you can say for Django, whatever apps and features Django uses, you define mostly on middleware in the middleware file. Next we have your URL resolver. Now this is somewhat for new beginners, this is a confusing thing to study and learn, because there are two files called urls.py, and it's very easy to mix up these two. So we're going to talk about this, how these two work in a bit. Basically, for now, what you can say is that whenever a request is made to Django server, it reads the request, its path, and routes the path to the right function, and that function handles the request. And those functions which handle the request are written in this file called views.py. It's one lengthy file. You write everything over here. That's the pattern. It's just one file. You define everything in that file. Similarly, you define all the URLs in one file. That's the convention. It's not compulsory, but in Django framework, Django apps, that's a convention. So views.py receives a request, an HTTP request, which was routed by urls.py, handles it, and inside it is going to call, make OpenMRS calls and return a template. So when it's returning a template, again this time middleware is involved, this time bottom to top. So middleware captures the returned template from URL and knows where to route it or how to respond it, and then puts additional checks, whatever the middleware you've mentioned. We'll go through this. Basically these four statements have to be literally memorized. So how URLs work, how views work, this is essential if you want to work on Django's MVT framework. Now what is MVT? MVT is model view and template. Model view controller is a very famous design pattern, and Java Spring actually is model view controller, follows it very strictly, by the way. And Java has something called model view template. So what exactly is a model? Model is the data layer where you are defining your entities. In this project, this layer does not exist. We have an empty models file. Why? Because we don't have entities in the web application. All the entities live in the OpenMRS. We are not persisting anything. We don't have a database at all. Everything, the storage, the backend is handled by OpenMRS. This Django application does not contain anything, does not store anything directly into any database. That's something to bear in mind. So which is why the model is empty. Now the view layer is, we are calling it a layer, it's just one file. View says we should have one function to handle one request. Any kind of request, any HTTP request has to be handled by a function. One function should not handle two requests. One request should not be handled by two different functions. That's the Django's convention. And these functions within themselves, they call OpenMRS REST API, and whatever the data is required, that data is fetched, and as a response a new page is returned. Now when I say a new page is returned, what do I mean by that? So those pages are called templates. Template is basically, you can say it's an HTML code with some tags, some you can say a flavor of programming. And we will see these. A template is basically HTML with Python language tags, and there are 4 different building blocks which make up a template, and we'll shortly see those. Basically what a template is, it's an HTML file which receives a JSON object and populates data inside it and returns an HTML page. That page is returned back to the client's browser from views that is resolved by URLs, and then the client's browser shows the content. URL, these are configurations. These are only telling you where a request is going to land in the code. Now Django itself is we have a Django project, right? And inside the Django project there can be multiple apps. This project only has one application, and generally that's how it goes. So we have a Django project. Inside the Django project there's generally one app, and this app is literally named app, APP app, right? I have slightly modified the paths of few files for simplicity, because Django has this tendency of nesting the directories. So we had mdrtb, inside mdrtb we had another mdrtb, inside that mdrtb there was an app called mdrtb, and that confused a lot. So I simplified that and basically brought things to on the root level. I'll explain as I show you the code. Now manage.py is is that Python package, which is Python module which is handling Django CLI, right? So all the commands to run, stop the server, collect statistics, there are 3 or 4 commands we use for manage.py, and that's what we use for those operations. So Python manage.py.run server, this is going to launch the web app over the browser, but bear in mind this is not for production. Run server does not handle multiple requests efficiently. This is only for the development purpose. For deployment we are going to use Iconicorn. Then the other file we use is collect static. What this does is it collects all the static files from resource folders and copies them for production. Right? There is another Python manage check. This is just to do like a smoke test of whether the project is ready for deployment. Since there is no model, there are no migrations. All the migrations are happening in OpenMRS through Liquibase, so no Django migrations, which is why it's very simple to explain this project to someone who already knows Django. There's nothing even in the Django world, it's not using a whole model layer. So 1, you don't need to deal with models. 2, you don't need to deal with data persistence. 3, you don't need to deal with migrations. That layer is OpenMRS's issue. Now the layout we have is like this. Let me show you the code itself. That would be much easier. I'm not sure if I've checked out the web app. Okay, now is the best time to check out that project. So I'm going to clone a new repo, and this is OpenMRS module mdrtp web. Okay, let's clone it. And there we go. Let me just quickly confirm this is the latest. Yes, it's the latest one, and I'm going to open it. Since I'm using PyCharm, it will solve plenty of my problems by itself. See, it's saying there's no virtual environment. Do you want me to create one? Yes, go ahead, create one. It's going to create one, and it will automatically install all the package in requirements file. There are plenty of dependencies. I'd rather not touch any of these versions. Some of them do contain versions, some don't. The ones that don't contain don't have version specified don't matter, but the other ones, the versions and their compatibility matters. So they are tested on these versions that you see. Now as soon as I have them all installed, I will have to create a .env file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone this env and just need to change one thing, because we are going to be connecting with the test server. Anything else I don't think I need. By the way, there's also this utility called generate production environment variables. In production, you should use this one. Execute it once, it will create a .env file and handle all the secrets you are providing. So it's a better way to create .env file than what I did. But that's for production. We are right now in development mode, so it doesn't really matter at the moment. Okay, so I have all dependencies installed, and this is the manage.py file. You don't see much here, but actually the commands this module receives are sent to by the Django CLI. So I want to show you the structure. So we have this manage.py file, we have Docker file, no need to touch any of these. This is the app. This is where the application exists, and this is the high level project, right? So the project is Django, with inside it we have an app. Now there's a settings module inside which you're going to find settings.py file, right? We will talk about this. This has the middleware. There is URLs over here. I'll just briefly explain it in a bit. And then there's also a URLs file inside the app. These two files are what sometimes confuse the developers. Right? The rest is basically these are utilities. I'll talk about this. These are all the tests. Actually, we had many more tests than these. Wow. Where are the tests? Yes. So utility has their own tests, and this I have to move somewhere. This was written exclusively to test this Gunycon crashing issue we had. But the good thing is we don't, I think we no longer need to keep restarting Gunycon these days. We have some success at least when it comes to running the Gunycon instance for multiple users. Now let's go back to the structure. In our project we have this one, settings, right? Now settings takes care of, let me see if I can change the resolution so that it's much more visible than it is. I can see what you were saying. Let's try this one. Is it better? And what the resolution, is it
Yeah, I can see.
before? Okay, perfect. So okay, this is what I'm trying to explain. So there's the settings file, there's settings URL and app URL file, there's views.py file, there's a middleware, models.py, and then plenty of utilities, and then finally we have resources. I'll explain them all one by one. So first of all, the settings file. Settings file contains all the configuration level stuff. So you have secret key. This is read from the .env file. It will be exclusive for production. You are not going to copy the same key from your dev environment. Debug is right now looking for an environment variable called debug. So if debug is false, meaning you are actually in production environment. I'm going to keep it true, right? And I'm going to put in my secret key ABCD 1 2 3 4 7 7 8 9 0. Let's make it a secret key. So we are going to be in debug mode. Local IP address is read from the environment .env file. If it's not present, it's going to be the local IP address. All hosts are allowed if you have not configured the hosts in .env again. All hosts I have just put in status, all hosts allowed, but for course cross domain I have only allowed the IP address of the current server, as well as if you are on the in a local environment, the local host. Okay. Then we have installed apps. These are literally the applications from Django which we are using. So we are using admin app, just one or two features of it. We are using authentication, content type, session management. We have static files, app config, and course headers. Then comes this middleware. In this middleware, there's some are literally standard. So white noise, security middleware, session middleware, these come out of the box from Django. We have added one of our own. So this middleware.py is something we are providing to the Django middleware. Okay. Then we have course allowed origins, root URL, templates. The base directory for templates is app templates app. Okay. App templates app. This is where all the templates exist, or rather say HTML plainly. WSGI, forget it, cache. Okay, this one is important. We are using Redis for caching, but there are two different databases. Yet again, important point to note. I've explained settings file. I need to, why are these two different databases? I have, by the way, put in all of this in detailed notes. So all of what I'm explaining is there. They are also there in the written form too. Now, you see, we have two types of caching. One is where we cache the user sessions. So that one is default. But we also need to cache the metadata. Now, metadata cache has a timeout of 1 hour. Every hour the metadata gets refreshed from OpenMRS, and say you made any change to any concept, or altered any location, or changed a translation, it may take up to 1 hour for the front end app to reflect the that change, because for a whole hour the application caches existing metadata, all the locations, the concepts especially. But it doesn't mean that it won't get updated. After every hour it fetches another fresh copy of metadata from OpenMRS and updates it inside its Redis. So this is very important to understand why we have two different databases for caching. Then we have a database. Why does this exist? This exists only for one purpose, that is testing. So this is a SQLite DB. This is for testing only. Then we have some rules for passwords. We are not actually creating any users, so this is not being really used. We might consider removing it, but I just left it for the sake of consistency with any Django project. And this gave us a bit of headache. These are static directory paths, not to be touched at all. Don't move anything, don't change any path ever, because changing anything, even an extra slash, is going to break the static file structure. So So static files are basically your CSS, image files, favicon, JavaScript files. These are all inside our static directory. Then we have certain standard variables being read from the environment file. The timeout is 120 seconds for any request, and you may increase it for really, if you really have reports that are taking maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes to load, you can increase the timeout. But default is 120. This can be changed on production. MIME types and then logging. The logger is defined its configuration, and there's going to be a .log directory. Yeah, this directory at the moment doesn't exist. I'm going to create a new directory. You will have to as well, otherwise it will throw in an error. So create a logs directory. Inside it you'll find a django.log, and that's basically it. Now this is settings file. The time zone is set to Asia Dushanbe. Okay, now why do these two urls.py files in our system? They are for routing. See, this urls.py is for the Django project, right? This one is serving the admin pages. Now we don't have a model at all. We are not using Django forms, so this is not going to be called at all. But if you are going to enable admin pages, which Django provides by default, it's a very unique feature of Django. Literally you can create all the forms by itself from the model. Then you are going to have those URLs here. This is the path that routes in, and then this other line, path include app.url. What this is saying is, whenever any request lands, if it is not an admin request, then route those requests further to apps URLs. And this is the other file which actually handles all your real requests. So for login page, this is the path. For locations, here's the path. For concepts, for to change locale, for search, for TV dashboard, edit patients, all of these paths, all templates, all pages, routes for them are defined over here. If there's no route here, the Django doesn't know how to deal with that particular request. Now you will see that against every route there is a function defined from views file, and we recognize these requests by their names, not by their path. So the path can change, but the name, the Django looks at this name and understands, okay, this is the name, whatever the path be. So they are handled by name, not by path. And over here you see concepts/struuid. What this is saying is that this path expects a UUID parameter, and when you are going to call this get concepts function, you will be passing this parameter UUID to this function. So you can see get concepts in view file has a UUID parameter. Okay, that's why we have two different paths. So name is basically your internal tag which is used to identify the paths themselves. This is your URLs, and then middleware guards the login. So what does middleware, our own middleware, do? I left it. This is saying make sure we never show anything except login form if the user is not logged in. The user may not be logged in, the session might be expired, the server behind the scenes might have restarted, OpenMRS might have stopped responding. In all those cases, user will be routed to the login page. Right now you will notice that sometimes you launch the web app during testing and it immediately loads your dashboard, but you can't search for anything. You have to log out and then log in again. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
That will no longer be the problem because we have now added this guard in the middleware. So this was, by the way, added by Abdul Basit back in days. You know him, right? But for some reason this wasn't included, this wasn't activated, but now it exists in the middleware in the settings.py and it is working fine. Alright, so this was about the login guard. Yeah, all the login requests, basically this is one-stop shop. Every request goes through here. It's not only, right now what we are doing is we are handling logins, but since it says every request, if you want to make sure that for one particular request, say if request dot if something in request session, if not session not in request, then do something, then maybe email to admin something. So if you want to put in something which is between your middleware and the URLs before routing, you want to handle exclusively, this is the place to so what is see it's right now checking is that if request doesn't have a valid session, then clear the session, whatever the session info the user may have, and then redirect the user to login page. Okay. Now the most important file, views. See, whenever a new request lands, say TB dashboard, there is a function in views.py which will get called. So your path TB dashboard / patient and there's /uuid, it is going to call the render patient dashboard function of views. Render patient function will intake a UUID. This UUID will be used to fetch the patient's information from the REST API. Let me see. Patient utility dot get patient dashboard info, and this whole function is fetching plenty of information about the patient. So the whole patient dashboard, these forms TB03, form 89, AES regimen, all these forms are being fetched. Yeah, this is forms util, and this is then further calling OpenMRS API, and OpenMRS API returns those objects, the simple objects we saw yesterday in JSON, and those JSON packets are converted into JSON objects in Python, and those JSON objects are going to be rendered, are going to be returned and rendered on the UI using templates. That's the flow. Now what do I mean by return using templates? See, we received a request to render patient dashboard. We collected all the information we needed from the API and prepared a JSON object, a dictionary, basically a dict, and then finally this is being called render app tb register dashboard.html and provide context. Context is going to contain all the information, all the data, and that data will be fed into this template. That's why we are calling it a template. It's not plain HTML, it's a template which will further be rendered. So what Django does is looks for this file called dashboard.html. It's going to be inside tb register, and here we are, dashboard.html. Now is where the real magic happens. This context is passed as an object to this template, and in this template Django looks for a few things. Django looks for all these blocks. So there's extends, there is a title, there's a block, end block, and let me explain a few of these. There are 4 types of, these are called tags, by the way. These are language tags. The first tag is this one, it's a variable. So let me see where we've used it. Let's go over here. See, we've used this tag. What is it saying? It's saying call get message and supply this parameter to it. Now what is get message? Get message is a function which will look for this resource bundle, and if your default language is Tajik, it will look for messages.tj. If your default is Russian, it will look for message in Russian. That's the same thing I was talking about yesterday. So let's say we have mdrtb.program.dots. We need the exact string to be displayed as desired. So I'm going to go to Russian. So if we need Russian, don't worry about this. The reason why you don't see this is because I need to specify that this is this file is going to use the UTF-8. It's right now the encoding is ISO, which is why you don't see Russian, but there is Russian. So this will be translated into Russian language. So let me open this in something else. Open in okay, it's opening in Gravity. Fine. Meaning that variable is going to display to fetch this string and display it over there. Right? So this is actually calling Python code. That's your first tag. Okay. Then the second tag is let's see, if as this block here. So what this does is it is going to apply programming language, start a block, write programming statement, if state.answer.concept, if the concept exists, then pull its name, otherwise display none, and within them we have these HTML tags. So there are programming tags, there is HTML tags. So that's how you are going to represent if else. Then we have extends. Extends is for inheritance. So we have a base template. This is your base template. It's importing all the JavaScript files, the theme CSS file and all, and this acts as your master page. This also contains further JavaScript functions. This is very painstaking kind of function for locations, to handle locations, but you've seen this in action. and it's quite essential to extend every page and include the extend base page into every new template. Okay, and then we can have these blocks. Block called title. You're gonna put in title here, and then the block will end. This is the content block. Content block will end somewhere after. Content block is going to yes, this is the content block. So it's like body and title and body in HTML. Somewhat the concept is similar. Although I'm explaining how it works in how templates work in Django, the good thing is, even if you don't know how to work with tags at all, this is the part where I will encourage you to use ChatGPT or any AI agent, because that's not something you really need to keep writing and waste your time in handling all these syntactical issues. There are no smart IDEs even to help you write these templates in very effective manner, and it's just basically HTML and JavaScript if you look into it from bird's eye view. All you need to do is to make sure the views.py supplies the right context, the right data, the right object to the template, and you're calling the right template. That's it. The template writing you can leave to AI, and by the way, we have also used AI extensively to write these templates, because there's just too much code to write, and it makes no sense to not use AI when it's available. So these are your templates, right? The most important variable for templates is this context variable. So context variable, there's one more thing, by the way. Right now this is very you can say the module code requires some level of standardization. So you can see this is following lowercase convention, this is then camel case. These kind of things, they exist, we have to take care of, but this is about the code conventions and the quality of code. By functionality, it is functional, it works. Okay. Now let me go through how the web app works. These are the building blocks, I believe. Yeah. Oh yes, I have to explain the utilities. You will have these so-called util functions. All these utilities, first of all, they are tested. You will find unit tests. The entire the web application depends on them. Now there is a REST API util. So REST API util does exactly what it means. Says it handles the sessions. It makes REST calls to OpenMRS. It also does a few more things. Clear the session, meaning flush the Redis memory. We have is session authenticated. This makes sure that the user is logged in. We have get handler, we have a post handler, and we have a delete handler. Right? That's all of these calls are passed to OpenMRS, and the results received. These are to get the authentication headers. Authentication, as we've seen in Postman, we have the basic authentication in which the credentials, username, password are encoded, and then we also have session ID, which has a limited time before it expires. And then this one doesn't really belong here, post lab order. But why does it exist here? Because we were integrating with Qualys project. Now I am not sure if that integration still exists or is it even required, but this is legacy code. You decide whether to keep it or remove it. Then we have patient utils. So all functions related to patients, their alteration, their transformation, conversions, this is where it all happens. So if you want to save a patient, you're gonna call this, and from within that package, this is sanitize the data in the format that is required by OpenMRS, and it will then post this to, where is it? Yes, ru.post, restutil.post, and it's going to post and create a new patient. This is the save patient is the method which actually creates a new patient in OpenMRS. Then we have metadata util for all the metadata stuff, global properties, locations, concept types, concepts, location types, encounter types, all of those we saw yesterday. It's over here. This is also fetching patient user credentials. Check if user has privileges. So that's where we are checking if the user has privilege to certain thing, and this is the part actually where our current user logins are failing to perform certain operations. And you can see you are able to log in using Firoza's account because she has the system developer role, and for system developers all operations are allowed. Yeah, this is a bug. We'll have to figure out why. And then this function fetches certain global properties from OpenMRS. Then we have locations util. Again, as the name suggests, fetch all the locations by UUID, by the location levels. If you want to fetch the whole hierarchy, this function is going to call hierarchy of a single location. Okay. Then we have this forms util. This is handling all the forms. PB03, adverse event, all the forms are being handled here. We have common lab util. All the common lab module functions existed here, except that this common lab is going to be now replaced with MDR-TB after we have of course we have migrated the common labs functionality inside our own module. So this whole utility will go away. It will be merged into the REST API util and metadata util. So that's an important to do. Actually, let me write a to do for this. Remove this module and move its functions to API utils and metadata utils due to migration of common lab module into the MDR-DB modules. That's another tool. Let me see how many to-dos we have in this project. Oh wow. Yes, now we see. So we have 16 to-dos. No, not in the static. In the utility we have 2. Great. I remember specifically instructing Abdul Basit to clear all the to-dos from the code. So I can see some of the to-dos were fixed and the others were cleared. Maybe I did that. I don't know. So we were in a hurry to complete the work in the previous one. So some of the stuff was left over. I'll take care of it, no worries. These are all common utils. So for example, reading a file, altering an array, or changing a string, all of that stuff. That's over here. These are report names. So mdr tb dots value tb03 dots. Get patient list options. All enrolled. Okay, these are for message codes to display onto the UI. Interesting. These are report names. So we have a internal report name, and then we have to write the report name fetching from the message the properties file. So maybe that's why it exists. Whew. Now this views.py file, like these are thousands of lines of code, but don't worry, that's exactly how it's supposed to be. Django apps expect a format like this. Everything, all the views level stuff that stays in views. Alright, so let's now go dive deep into the flow. How does the application work? First of all, there are no user accounts inside the web application. So when you launch the application, what happens is you are served with this template, TP register login. This is what you're served, and this login page, how did you end up here? Let's see. We have URLs. So when your web application called login, this login route called render_login. This is a function inside views. When we go into render login, we see whether the session, if there's an active session in existence or not. If an active session exists, the user is routed to the search page. If it does not exist, then we move on. We do what? We are going to see if the method is get or post, meaning whether to process the login or show the login page. Now if the login page is only to be displayed, this is the template you see, login.html. Okay? But when you're submitting the login form, on submit, when you're submitting this form, this part gets called. Now you're making a post call. So you're going to fetch the username, you're going to fetch the password, you're going to initiate the session and request for that session. If you get a initiation response, then you're going to be routed to search patient view. Otherwise, you will land on the login page again, and this time with the context. So context is going to contain the response, if there is any username or password missing, whatever, right? Now this is how you are going to log in. So this initiate session is gonna get called. Your username and password is going to be encoded as a key. REST API base URL, which is your API, you can see 8080/OpenMRS/WS/REST/v1. That's the URL of OpenMRS REST API. You're going to attach a header for authorization and make the request. Okay? If you do get 200, which means you are authenticated. If you are authenticated, you are going to get a session ID from the response. This session ID you are going to store. So you are going to store the session ID as well as the user. Who is the user who's logged in? Not the username only, but the whole object of user. So logged users object is going to get stored here. That object, as we've seen yesterday, when you fetch a new session, you receive what? Yeah, you receive a user object. So you have username, his other properties, person object, all the privileges. This is important. So over here in logged user, you have an object which also contains the privileges that this user has. Then also you are fetching the user's default locale. So is this user by default on Russian language or Tajik or English? That's the user property. Then right after this, all concepts are fetched. Right? So metadata utility fetches the concepts that are required. Now when you say get all concepts, first of all you are going to look into the cache. If concepts are already cached, no worries, just return as is. Otherwise, fetch all the concepts. So after the server restart, the very first login is going to be slow. It will take 5 to 10 seconds maybe, but the second login, consecutive logins will be rapid because the concept dictionary has already been cached. Okay, and then you are going to fetch the location hierarchy. All the locations are going to get fetched, and these will be of course cached as well. As you log in, these are the functions that get performed. Now when you have successfully logged in, you land where? Over here, search patient view. Now what is search patient view? This means you are redirecting to this template, to this path, sorry. The path itself, its name is search patient view. It is basically the root, and it is calling render search patient function from views file. That's where you see the search dialog box. Yeah, if the session is not alive, then go back to login after clearing the session. That's basically what it's saying, which is fine. All right, so how do you stay logged in? The session ID is stored inside Redis, and if the session is alive, where is it? Check if session is alive. This is going to check for session ID, and that's it. If there is session ID, fine, the session is active. If not, then return false. Yeah, that's how it's. Now let's have a look at how TB03 report is rendered. Yesterday we looked into how TB03 request is received and rendered. We are going to now look into the Django end of it, the web end of it. So let's say you made a request like something like this. TB tb03, the call is tb03. So let us make a request. Add request, and let's do mdr tb/tb03 so we are calling this one. So we have a year 2023, we have a location UUID, which location, month start and month end. Okay? This is what we are going to call. What happens as we make this request? We have already received the results, but what exactly happened? Here we are saying tb03 yes, so render tb03 report. Okay, this function from the views.py was called, and data was tb03 report. This is a problem. We need to fetch the respective translation. It's to be fixed. Redirect, forget. Okay, we are fetching the parameters from the web page itself. So we have let me populate the web app. So we have tb03, and as we select any location, district, facility, whatever, and 2023 we are selecting start 9, end 10, right? And as we submit, these are the parameters that are collected from this template, tb03 results template. Now let's have a look into this template itself. Reporting and tb03 report. Okay, sorry, this is the output. This is the one which is collecting the parameters. So we collected the parameters here, quarter, month, okay, and called this one. Now the endpoint that gets called is ru.get, rest utils.get mdrtb/tb03 report, exactly the one we called over here with the params attached. So there is no difference between what I'm doing here in Postman and what Django is doing over here. If you have successfully made a call here in Postman, then everything else is just Django, is just Python code. Let me 03 report. Okay. The response is going to be a patient set, and this is going to be a collection for every item you are going to convert into an object. This is going to be a key value pair. You are going to convert into an object, and you are going to fetch the location hierarchy and render what? tb03 report.html. See, this was tb03 form.html. This template is to collect the parameter, collect the request to render the report. the report data is actually rendered over here, and this is going to be a lengthy file. That's where you be hunt for issues mainly. Okay, this particular field is missing, this particular cell is merged into some other cell. These kind of issues, they happen in these report outputs. Again, I will highly recommend to use AI to make changes, any changes you want in the report, in the templates. So that's like the life cycle of a single call, which the Django template, Django code makes, the web app makes to OpenMRS, and then receives the response. Now, if you want to launch it locally, I am going to go into configurations, add a configuration, Python run server, and my script is going to be manage.py.
I have a question regarding reports.
Yeah.
So the processing of the reports are happening in the web application, as I understand.
Representation is in the web application. The report
So
process is in this on the server end.
Yeah, it will be the SQL request to the backend.
No, we are not making an SQL request. We are only asking for a report, and the backend receives that request from the in the OMOD, the REST layer, and then REST calls the service layer. The service layer calls DAO layer. DAO layer executes the SQL.
Okay.
There is no way you can ever execute SQL from within your web application. Web application does not have the liberty to build the business logic. What do I mean by that? When you say fetch me TB03 form, what exactly is a TB03 form? If you open the database, there is no table called TB03 form. There are encounters, then observations. Now the module collects data from encounters and observations, converts them into an object which is translated into a TB03 form. So that logic resides in the module. What you can do though is you can fetch other data, like if you want to fetch encounters or results, lab results, those you can fetch, but the MDR-TB related forms, those are going to stay in the module. So exactly, see what you're saying is, if you tomorrow wanted to have another form, say another variant of TB08 form, or national TB program makes a dramatic change in the form itself, that's when you will have to open the module code and make changes to the module code. The web application itself cannot perform those functions. It's just the interface. This is to provide you the UI. So whatever the data is being returned from the module, you can represent it in any way you want from within the web app. But the web app is not going to compile all the encounters and the observations and turn them into forms. That's like, it would be like building the MDR-TB module in the Django app, which makes zero sense.
Okay, I got it. So, if we want to make changes, we have to do it on the module. It means that we have to know the Java.
Yes,
No,
that's
yeah.
why there were 2 days for almost 2.5 days for OpenMRS in Java, and like a few hours on Django Web, because I know you can cover this very easily. Any developer can pull out the code if he knows Django. By hit and trial, within 2 or 3 days, he's gonna get what's happening.
Okay. Okay.
Should we move on?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Let's go ahead.
So I'm going to launch this now, and connecting there. I'm running the application from my now. Okay, so you're gonna see some differences in the styling. This is work in progress, and you will notice a few enhancements. There's going to be an administration page to set defaults, to manage translations, to manage locations. This is the part of our third deliverable, which will be enhancements. Okay, so I just want to make sure that you don't have to open this interface unless it is like really crucial. And this header, this was basically missing when you launched certain report. This went away. This is now part of your base, and over here I'm going to put up I'm planning this feature. Let me know if it's really worth it. So what I'm planning is to make use of Redis, and for users have like something like a favorites tab. So you have a patient, you can add that patient to favorites, and it will be collected over here. So it makes day-to-day operation slightly faster for the data entry operators. If you have say 5 or 6 very frequently accessed patients, you can have them as your like in your pinned cases, and you can populate them from over here. Recording another session. All right. Okay, we are moving towards conclusion, and what we are going to do is perform a change to the application, and we are going to modify one of the existing reports. And for that, what we are going to do is, let's pick TB03 as an example, right? So let's try to modify the TB03, and what we want to do is what should we add? All right, let's do this. Let's pick this current one. So we have TB03 report and TB03 request, right? Now let's open the respective template. Reporting TB03 report. Okay. This is a beefy report to even work on. Let's try to make a change in this report. I'm also going to open another couple of files over here, and over here we have tb03 data resource controller, right? Okay, so let's just say we have a request to add one of the variables in tb03 report. So when this is called, we are landed here tb03 report.html, and this is render tb03 report and context. Now the context contains patient set, and inside it we have results and locations, and then this patient set, what we have when we return the results is let's pick something. Let's pick here age at tb03 registration. Let's say we want to have this variable included inside the tb03 report. So what we are going to do is we have the patient set over here, and inside the patient set, for every row what we are going to do is fetch the age, and we'll see if this is a pediatric case or not. Let's just pick an objective randomly. So what we're gonna do is, for every row in context patient set, I'm going to say age is equals to row.get age at tb03 registration, that's a variable name, and row I'm going to say is child case, or is pediatric case is equals to, and we'll say yes if age is integer of age is less than 15, else no. Or let's just say age group, and return. Okay, let's just hope this variable is always integer, otherwise it may result in exception. We'll cross the bridge when it comes to it. So we have age group. Supposedly this is going to give us whether this is pediatric or not. First of all, what I'm going to do is run into the debug mode. This really helps us, because during the debug, of course, we are going to be able to apply a certain breakpoints. So as you can see, we are here. We have age. Let's go into next step. Age is 28. Okay, and this is going to add another, of course, add another variable, and let's see over here if we do really have in our context. Let's explore the data. See, this is what I was referring to. The PyCharm and IntelliJ, these make our debugging really easy. So we have age group pediatric and adult. Okay, what we did is we collected we added another extra variable to context, right? And now that we have it here, the next step is to find where to put it in tv03 report.html. Okay, so let's carry this on. This is our template where this change is going to get reflected. So where exactly are we going to put it? We have there will be a loop somewhere which is going to say for every patient do this or do that. Hang on a second. Okay, we have a loop here. So we have identifier, date, and age at registration. So instead of saying age at registration, we are gonna say what, whether this is a pediatric case or a child case. So we are gonna put in age group over here, and this time instead of age, or what we can do also is we can say row.age group. Okay. It's just a hypothetical example, just to demonstrate how easy it would be to make changes to the web application. And that's the part which makes it very easy for, which takes care of a whole like 50% of your changes. Previously you had to update the module itself, so it wasn't just about writing JSP every time, rebuilding the module, every time redeploying the module. That was the hassle you needed to go through, and that was sometimes too much. So invalid filter row, oh sorry, this is that's actually filter. We need to put in something like this. Okay, so now we have adult and pediatric, and now comes the problem. The problem is when you convert into Russian, let's call it actually that's a very frequent problem to have, from 1 to month 2 and year 2023, and the problem looks something like this. That's okay. We have everything is in Russian except this. It says adult. So what do we do with this? how do we solve this trouble, this issue? What we'll do is we're gonna go into resources, and in our resource bundle we have properties Russian Tajik. So first of all we will look for this term, does it even exist? No, we don't have the string called pediatric or the string called adult. So in our MDRTB group of TB03, in TB03 we will add MDRTB.TB03 adult is equals to adult, and pediatric is equals to pediatric. Okay, and now we are going to copy these two rows, and right where we have TB03X DR form, that's I don't like. Let's go to open them in MDRTB.TB03X. So over here I'm going to put these two, and then translation of adult and translation of pediatric. So my friend ChatGPT is gonna help me here. And of course you're gonna verify if these are accurate or not. This is Russian, this is Russian for pediatric, and similarly I'm gonna open the Tajik one. Adult and pediatric. Okay, now I have translations in Russian and in Tajik. So tell me what's gonna happen if I regenerate this report.
Should show the correct translation.
It should show the correct translation, right?
Yeah.
That's where the bugs appear. It is not showing the correct translations. Why? Translation. Why?
Maybe you have to start the application,
No, here's the thing.
or you have to put some links.
Yes, what I did is, you see, the mistake I made, and this is very frequent stuff. The mistake is this: I'm putting the word pediatric and the word adult over here, right? I need to put
Yeah.
in the code
Code.
itself that is representing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the code I have is for adult MDRTB.TB03 adult, and then MDRTB03, sorry, this is pediatric and the other one is adult.
inside the brackets.
Yes, so you see what I'm supplying here is just the code. This is a code for pediatric, this is a code for adult. Now over here, as I'm rendering them, what I'm going to say is, well, pick age group and then call this method get underscore message and then locale of this one, and if not found, then the default value should be the English one. Okay, now let's see what happens when we re-render it. And there you go, you have the translation. So you see the translation, translating is one part of it, making sure that the translation is reflected, that's the other one. So yeah, that's, I'm sure more than half of the changes are going to be just like these, very easy to do. You will be releasing, fixing, releasing like every day till you have a stable build. Actually we will be doing this together initially, but afterwards even. So most of the time it's just things like these. I just we have 10 more minutes. I also need to log out. What if there is a variable which is not present in patient set? That is a question which should be asked right after this. What if we needed something which is not being retrieved from the REST call we made? This is where you have to make a decision between two things. First one is, you have to choose one of the two approaches. The first approach says, approach 1 says, call another REST endpoint to fetch the required info. For example, you may call not MDRTB, obs slash by concept, sorry, make fetch all obs against XYZ concept for this patient. This is first approach, and it's a quick fix. Of course, you don't need to make any change to the module, and it's also lucrative. So for example, you have something called like let's just pick a variable that's not over here. We are basically returning almost everything. Treatment 0 treatment start date. Come on, let's just pick a variable. I'm done with it. API, so not API, MDRTB concepts. Let's pick a concept. Let's say date of HIV visit. This is something we want to fetch, which is not present here, right? Although there is an HIV test result, HIV test date, ART, all of these, let's just say, for the sake of argument, we don't have a variable over here which is required in our report. So the first thing you might do is something like an immediate fix. You can say row and date HIV test, and then you can call rest get hang on, maybe there may be another util to use to fetch an observation. Okay, so let's say you have a you have this method get encounters by patient and type, or okay, this is going to be a collection. We want only one of them. All right, let's say this one, get patient treatment outcome. Okay, we want treatment outcome, and this is going to be pu dot get patient treatment outcome. We are going to fetch row dot get patient UUID, okay, from the patient set, and then from within this we are going to get what, a display string, right? And then the concept, what we need is, let's see what concept is passed when we call it. Yeah, MDR TB treatment outcome. Although this is a DRTB, this is a dots case, but for some reason, let's say we require this information. So what exactly are we doing? We are making a REST call for every patient in this record, and exclusively for that single variable. For a report, when you're rendering it and making another extra call, this is a bunch of SQL queries that are going to be run for every patient, which means the report is going to get relatively slow. So there's a trade-off. Can you afford more waiting time? If the answer is yes, then this is the go-to solution. Go for it. No worries. This is not the ideal situation though. Let's try to debug this again, and maybe there is a patient or two who actually have this variable, have this value. So there's going to be a REST call, and let's hope it's not crashed. I have provided concept. Patient UUID concept I did. Oh, okay. So I have to pass on the report REQ. By the way, it's going to adopt it. Just simply refresh the code. No worries. Alright, so here we are. Let's see if we actually got something in treatment outcome. Treatment outcome is none. Maybe for some patients we have it, or maybe for no one. We'll see. Patient set. Actually there's only one record. Now can you give me a parameter for like where you have plenty of patients? Let's see, quarter 3 maybe. Now we have many patients, and hopefully we have treatment outcome none, treatment outcome none, treatment outcome none, none. Now we don't have treatment outcome, I think, for any of them, but still let's this was just an example I wanted to populate. It could be any other variable at any other piece of information. This is approach 1, and recommended only when performance is not the blocker. However, for larger reports, for bulk operations, this is not the correct way to handle, because we are making an extra call, an extra REST call for every patient. It could be hundreds of patients, and for every patient you are making another call, and there may be actually 5 or 6 more variables like this. So 5 or 6 calls for every patient, that is going to be very painful to handle. So this is approach 1. We'll scratch this. What's going to be the approach 2? Approach 2 says, go to the module code, add the required variables to and this is obviously the longer route. It's painful, it will take more time and everything, but that's the right way to do things. So I'm going to come over here. We have TB03 data object. We have simple TB03 data. So I'm going to go over here. I will add another variable in this class called private string mdr TB treatment outcome. I will create a getter and setter for it. Some of the stuff AI is taking care of. Since I have this here, I also require it to be in the simple TB03. Oh, by the way, this is not going to be a string in TB03. Oh, okay, fine, no worries. via getter and setter, and then over here I am going to be expecting parameter tb03 data. So mdr tb is equals to tb03 data dot get mdr tb treatment outcome here. And similarly, when we are converting when we are actually populating this one in the yes, the patient set. So in the patient set, when we are constructing the object itself, this tb03 data object, here we are going to fetch and set the value. So let's go all the way down. If we want to add a new tb set nodes, if just right before this set mdr_tb outcome, and this is the part where we are going to actually set mdr_tb treatment outcome, and how we are going to fetch it. We are going to use context dot get ops service dot get not like this, sorry. We are not going to use direct any service directly. You are going to use this one. For example, we have code ID, we have whatever, tf dot cause of death treatment form dot outcome, get treatment outcome concept, and dot get display string. So this is the whole process. Now you have added this variable here, which means you can go to the respective REST resource. It's going to be here, and now you can add another variable, description dot add property, and mdr_tb treatment outcome. Then rebuild the module, redeploy the module, and then your front end application will have received that variable over here in patient set as well. This you can take into your template and then display wherever you want. Am I making sense? Anwar?
Yeah.
So you got the both of the approaches, right?
Yeah.
And I know you must be thinking this is really a painful way to go through for some of the things, right? But that's the thing. There's the right way to do something, and then there's a bespoke, inefficient way. So it's not like none of the approaches is wrong. It's just a matter of the trade-off. If performance is an issue, of course, for reports, you can't really expect the reports to follow the method of keep calling the REST resources. But say if you're rendering a single form, then maybe you can use those strategies. That's fine. So these three different modes of making changes I have displayed. One involves nothing from the module or OpenMRS database. You had the data with you. You just represented it, made some changes, derived another value, and translated. The other one involved fetching data from OpenMRS. Then you have two different approaches. Either you want to fetch from core OpenMRS services, or you really want have something as a bundled data, in which case of course you're going to make changes to the module, update the module code and redeploy. I am going to share the presentation and the notes, and I would not assume that these 3 days of workshop would be sufficient, but it will give you a really good start, I believe. And if someone is a tech savvy, a seasoned developer, for them it would be much easier to pick. And also, it might sound too much initially, but once you go through two or three requirements, you have fixed 2 or 3 tickets, it really isn't that difficult. I'm telling you, right? Even initially for us as well, it's even in the like, while we were working in IHS, this used to be like, okay, how do we work this code base? There's just too much going on. But honestly, after going through 2 or 3 change requirements or fixing 2 or 3 bugs, it's really not that much.